The sun bursts through the thick Portland clouds, casting a fleeting glow on a home steeped in chaos. Books are flung across the room, each one whispering stories of broken routines. The air is thick with the rich scent of coffee, mingling with the lingering hints of grief. Why did everything change? The question echoes in Claire Thompson's mind, heavy and unresolved. Claire Thompson, 36, a child psychologist torn between professional insight and personal turmoil, wrestles daily with loss. Her 13-year-old daughter, Ella Johnson, roams the house like a ghost, her father's presence haunting every corner. A stubborn glare from Ella, a smirk that brings back memories of her late husband. Each moment feels like a battle, balancing, nurturing with the necessity of letting go. What does it mean to be strong when the heart is shattered? Can healing ever truly begin? The walls stand intact, but the soul of their family has disappeared. 3 years ago, a traffic collision stripped away the love of her life. Claire Thompson remembers that fateful morning, how he kissed her goodbye and promised to bring home pizza. "If I get off early." But he never made it out the door. 2 officers appeared, clad in somber uniforms, words of sorrow programmed like a script. Wrong place, wrong time. The world went dark. 15 years together, and just like that, everything changed. Ella was only 10. She didn't just lose her dad, but also her sense of security. The vibrant girl became muted, afraid that any sound would resonate through their shattered lives. At the funeral, she gripped Claire Thompson's hand like a lifeline, silent tears locked away behind her stoic expression. It's just been them ever since, navigating life through the haze of grief. But how do you thrive when loss feels all-consuming? How do you find joy in a world painted gray? There's no big drama, just a quietness that echoes from the past. Claire Thompson tries to provide stability, yet the specter of her husband lurks around every corner. Resilience becomes her armor, but at what cost? Can a heart so deeply wounded ever truly come alive again? As winter turns into spring and the first hints of blossoms appear, Claire Thompson and Ella step tentatively toward healing. It won't be easy. There will be setbacks, missteps, and tears, but they're learning day by day. Together, they walk toward a future where laughter can coexist with memories, where grief doesn't steal joy but instead honors love lost. With her daughter beside her, Claire Thompson takes a deep breath. Each day is a new challenge. Every challenge is an opportunity to grow. Could this be the start of something beautiful? As the scent of fresh blooms fills the air, hope begins to take root in the unlikeliest of places. After all, sometimes the sun breaks through clouds in ways you never expect. We had this cozy little house, 2 cats lounging in the sun. Ella Johnson's a good kid. Not perfect, but who is? A bit stubborn, sometimes moody, but I get it. She lost her dad before she could even learn how to talk about feelings. Now, thrown into the chaos of middle school with hormones on overdrive, she's just doing her best to make sense of it all. We talk constantly. Okay, sometimes we argue, but we have this rule. No day ends without saying, "I love you." Even if it's muttered, even if it's through gritted teeth, we say it. Just when I thought, okay, this is our life now, everything changed. That's when Rob showed up. We met at a friend's birthday bash. He was funny and charming, spinning stories about his dog. No flashy moves, just a guy with a divorce behind him. There was something in his eyes, a quiet weariness I instantly recognized. By our 3rd date, we were grocery shopping together. By the 5th, he met Ella Johnson. I warned him. She hates surprises. There we found her on a park bench, lost in a book. Rob sat beside her, handed over a frappuccino, and I said, "I can just sit here and be quiet. I'm pretty good at that." She glanced at him, then back at me. "Okay," she said hesitantly. "Progress." He didn't push. He didn't try to play super stepdad. Instead, he showed up with pizza, ice cream, or a board game. Then came the subtle suggestions. Think Ella Johnson might want to join us at the zoo? I have this extra ticket to the planetarium. Might be her thing." Sometimes she said yes. It took 6 weeks before she called him Rob. Before that, he was just that guy. But one day, as we piled out of the car, she turned to him and said, "Thanks, Rob. I almost cried." 6 months later, we took this trip to Yellowstone. Just the 3 of us. Sure, we almost got lost. Ella Johnson cut her finger. Rob nearly flipped the kayak. It wasn't picture perfect, but it was real. I'll never forget him holding my hand while Ella Johnson fed a deer, whispering, "I love you. Both of you." A few months later, he proposed. No drama, just a dinner, candles flickering, a ring tucked away in his jacket pocket. I said yes. As the tears welled in my eyes, I finally found hope glimmering through our journey of healing. Could love ever feel whole again? And maybe, just maybe, laughter could fill the spaces once occupied by grief. And that, friends, is where the train started quietly derailing. Not that I knew it at the time. Back then, I was happy. Ella Johnson wasn't thrilled, but I remember her saying, "If he makes you happy, Mom, then I'm happy too." I wore that like a badge of honor. Thought we'd made it through the hardest part. Spoiler, we hadn't. Because if someone sees your kid as an inconvenience instead of a part of the family, you're not building a future. You're sitting on a landmine. After we got engaged, everything felt like it was straight out of a Pinterest board. Rob took over most of the engagement planning. "You carry so much already." "Let me handle this," he said. At first, I rolled my eyes. What do you mean I don't get a say in the flower arrangements? But then I relaxed, and honestly, it was kind of nice. He coordinated with the planner, picked out the venue with my input, but no pressure, sent over menus, and even made a Google Doc called "So Claire Thompson Doesn't Lose Her Mind." He seemed perfect, reliable, warm. Even Ella Johnson seemed to be warming up to him. No big celebrations or anything, but she'd make jokes about the dress, tease me about the raspberry cake. If there's raspberry, I might not run out mid-ceremony. We laughed. I took that as a good sign. I really thought she was learning to accept him in her own way. Then Rob said, "You don't mind if my mom comes out for the weekend? Just to get to know you two better." I didn't mind. His mom, Linda, lived out in Ohio, a retired civics teacher, widow, and someone I'd emailed with a few times before. Rob told me they used to have a rocky relationship, but things are better now. She showed up with a suitcase and an apple pie. Mid-60s, sharp as a pin, earrings matching her scarf, peach lipstick, and that kind of overstyled hair you only see in high school yearbooks from the late 90s. One look and I knew this woman had opinions on everything. "I've handled more difficult kids than your Ella Johnson," she announced 10 minutes in. As the sun dipped below the horizon, shadows stretched long across the kitchen. A sudden hush draped over the house. The faint creak of a door swinging open shattered the stillness, and Ella Johnson's voice, barely there, broke through the tension. "Mom, can we talk?" Her words hung heavy, laden with unspoken fears and unresolved grief. Claire Thompson's heart raced, a whirlwind of dread and flickering hope swirling within her. What could Ella Johnson possibly want to share at this late hour? That question hung in the air, leaving mother and daughter teetering on the edge of a profound revelation. The atmosphere buzzed with unsaid emotions, memories of laughter now tempered by the weight of loss. Just weeks ago, things felt somewhat normal. They had been busy planning the future, focusing on moments that brought a flicker of light to their days. But now, it felt as if shadows lurked around every corner, taunting them with reminders of what they had lost. Claire Thompson drew in a deep breath, the familiar scent of the rain-soaked earth mingling with the bittersweet aroma wafting from the kitchen. The chaos of life swirled around her as she fought against the rising fear that threatened to choke her. After Rob's arrival into their lives, it felt like darkness retreated momentarily. She had thought he could be the anchor they desperately needed, a reliable presence who could lift some of the weight off her shoulders. But as she now reflected on Rob's mother, Linda, An unsettling feeling crept back in. Linda seemed to scrutinize every decision as though her experience gave her the right to dictate what was best for Ella Johnson. Claire Thompson's heart clenched at the memory of Linda's early morning rummaging through the cabinets, her comments brushed off as harmless. "A little structure never hurts girls that age," she had said with unyielding authority. But did it? Wasn't it enough for Claire Thompson to try to balance her role as both mother and father? As Ella Johnson emerged from her room, looking as if she had just lost a battle against her own feelings, Claire Thompson sensed the storm brewing within her. How could two generations, both grappling with grief in their own ways, find a common ground? The air shifted again. Ella Johnson's silence felt like a scream, an unresolved symphony that begged to be heard. Claire Thompson clenched her fists, determined to stay strong. But the question lingered. Was Ella Johnson retreating deeper into her own world? Or could they uncover the truths hiding behind those silences together? Just as Claire Thompson prepared to reach for her words, a sudden realization crashed in. A pivotal moment was upon them. "All right, Ella Johnson, what's on your mind?" The echo of that night solidified a choice to face the grief, the challenges of single motherhood, head-on. As they stood on the brink of a revelation, tension loomed like flames waiting for kindling. What awaited them in the depths of that long-awaited conversation? And would they finally find a way to redefine their future? I smiled and nodded, mentally boarding up every door in my house. But things only got worse from there. Ella Johnson was eating on the couch, headphones on, while Linda's voice echoed through the room. "Do you all not speak to each other in this house?" Each comment felt like a scalpel wrapped in a hug. On the third day, Rob casually said, "Mom's kinda lonely in Ohio. What if she stayed another week?" I forced a smile. "Sure, because apparently I'm polite to a fault." But deep down, it felt like someone had unpacked their luggage straight into my soul. Tension thickened. Rob started echoing his mom more and more, and I found myself apologizing for my own daughter. Ella Johnson stayed quiet, but when Linda said, "At her age, she should have basic self-discipline," Ella Johnson's calm voice cut through the air. "I do. I just don't think home should feel like a military base." Linda didn't even look at her. When adults are speaking, children don't interrupt. "Go to your room." Ella Johnson left, her jaw trembling. I heard the click of her bedroom door locking. Later, while washing dishes, Linda said, "She's free-spirited. Is that a bad thing? Sometimes freedom is just anxiety. What she needs are clear boundaries." I replied, "Thanks. I'll think about it." But in my head, I was counting down the days until Linda packed that apple pie and went home. Tuesday afternoon, Linda barged into Ella Johnson's room again. No knock, no warning. She emerged looking like she discovered biohazard materials under the bed. "That's not creative mess. That's chaos. Girls need to learn to manage their space. I'll go tell her to clean up." I tried to stop her. "Linda, I usually—" "Oh, please. At her age, this is completely normal. It's nothing new for me." And off she went, back into Ella Johnson's room like a one-woman health inspection team. The air in the room thickened, a palpable tension hanging like a storm cloud ready to burst. My heart raced as I watched Ella Johnson's defiance clash with Linda's cold dismissal. The silence that followed was deafening, each second stretching into eternity. I felt the weight of Ella Johnson's words, a fragile bridge between childhood and the harsh realities of adulthood. Just as I opened my mouth to intervene, the door creaked ominously, and a shadow loomed in the hallway. Who was it? What would they bring into this already fractured space? I heard her say in that clipped middle school teacher tone, "We're cleaning this up now. Dust clothes on the chair, mugs by the window, all unacceptable. I'll be back in 30 minutes. I watched Ella Johnson clench her fists. She looked at Linda calm but icy and said. Linda whipped around to me scandalized. "Did you hear that? That tone? You seriously need to address this? She's crossing a line." Rob walked in, barely looked up from his phone. Yeah, Mom's got a point. She's acting out. I didn't say anything, but inside, something started to break. Later that same day, Linda accidentally peeked into my closet. I caught her in the act when I walked by our bedroom. "I was just looking for a hanger," she said all casual. "You know, you've got summer dresses mixed in with winter coats. That can get overwhelming. I could show you how to organize it better if you want. It's really easy." I did not want. That night, she offered to send me a webinar link. Modern homemaking. Maximum efficiency, minimal effort. She smiled like she was doing me a favor and added, "And I'm starting to think she really doesn't know the line between freedom and disrespect." Friday rolled around. Ella Johnson got invited over to her friend's house. Nothing new. We'd already talked about it. I knew the parents. She packed a small bag, and when she walked into the hallway, Linda raised an eyebrow on a Friday. "Wouldn't it be better to spend time with your family?" Rob didn't even look up from his phone. Yeah, weird timing. Timing. She wasn't heading to Cancun. She was going to eat boxed mac and cheese with Amy. I started questioning my own grip on reality. Everything I used to think was normal suddenly got recast as proof that I was an incompetent mom. That night, I gently asked Rob if he thought his mom was maybe overstepping. "She's just trying to help," he said, "and maybe she's not wrong. Boundaries are healthy." I wanted to scream that boundaries are for picture frames, not for grieving 12-year-old girls, but instead I just nodded and went to bed alone. Rob stayed in the kitchen with Linda. I heard her whispering something, and then his laugh. The next day, Rob sat me down. "I found this amazing program for teens," he said. "It's a behavioral school in Vermont. They've got counselor structure, lots of outdoor activities. It's not a punishment, it's support." I stood there holding a teapot and didn't say a word. So he kept going. I think it could really help Ella Johnson. A change of scenery, some discipline, a fresh perspective. You've said yourself she's been struggling since her dad passed. He looked at me so earnestly, like he was offering a solution. He truly thought through a kindness. I looked back at him and felt the floor drop out from under me. "You're seriously suggesting sending my daughter to boarding school? I want this to work. You and me, but we all need to be aligned. And right now, we're not." I wanted to scream. Did Rob even notice the way Ella Johnson's laughter echoed through our home? The real laughter, not the forced one? Did he hear her cries when he thought I was asleep? But I held back. Instead, I said, "Don't show me those links again." His nod felt like an apology, but the air was thick with the unspoken weight of what it meant to lose her. That night, as I turned off the light in the office, I saw it. His laptop glowed with a bright, chirpy website. Character-building behavioral boarding schools for girls ages 12 to 15. I closed the lid gently, and a cold shiver raced up my spine. I finally understood. My silence could cost me more than just my daughter. I could lose myself. Rob slept soundly beside me, unaware of the storm inside my mind. How could he suggest sending Ella Johnson away? How could he see her as anything but a precious part of our family? The man I was about to marry had transformed. Rob used to stand up for me when Linda got too sharp with her words. Now, he stood silent. He used to peek into Ella Johnson's room, fill it with laughter, but that warmth had vanished. Instead, he walked past her door like it didn't exist. "Is everything okay?" I'd asked him once. "Yeah, just tense," he replied, sounding worn out. "Eggshells? That's how he described our home? Blend families, they said." He was right. It was tougher than I ever anticipated. But the exhaustion in his eyes wasn't anger. It was submission. The next morning, the house was eerily quiet. Too quiet. I felt like I was on the brink of something monumental. What did this silence mean? Was it a warning sign? Or just the calm before the storm? I could almost smell the rain, heavy and electric, hinting at change. I knew I had to confront Rob. Confront myself. Would I fight for Ella Johnson or allow silence to dismantle our lives? The stakes could not be higher. My daughter's future and my very identity hung in the balance. At breakfast, Linda arched her brows like a sitcom villain. "You two had a tough talk last night." I heard the door slam. I nodded. No details, but Linda never needed an invitation. I'm not trying to interfere, but building a family takes hard choices. Motherhood isn't about being popular. Sometimes you have to be strict. I set my knife down calmly. "Linda, I heard you in Abby's room last night. You were going through her closet. That's not okay." She gave this little smirk. "Oh, I was just tidying up." Her stuff was a mess. Kids need clear boundaries. That word again, boundaries. Ella Johnson had shut down after school, straight to her room. Headphones in the second she heard anyone in the hallway. I asked how she was. Always the same. Fine. And it was obviously not fine. Then Linda announced we were having a family dinner to say goodbye. She was finally leaving the next day. She bought a frozen lasagna, set a tablecloth, dimmed the lights like we were on a cruise ship. I think we've all been a little tense. "We need to bring some warmth back into this house," she said as we sat down. Ella Johnson was stoned silent. I watched her hands in her lap. She was trying so hard not to walk out. "Ella Johnson, sweetheart," Linda cooped. "I think it might be time to adjust your bedtime. Staying up late at your age isn't good for your brain. Maybe 900 p.m. It helps build discipline." Ella Johnson looked at her, then at me, and said quietly, "That's not your business, Ella Johnson." Rob snapped, "You don't talk to adults like that." "Why not? She goes through my stuff, my room, my life. Why am I supposed to be polite about it? Because you're a child and right now you're being disrespectful." Linda sighed like a disappointed camp counselor. "Exactly. A young girl needs structure, and sometimes love means not letting them be rude." I clenched my jaw so hard I saw stars. "She's leaving tomorrow." I reminded myself she's leaving tomorrow. "It's okay, honey." I smiled at Ella Johnson. "We'll figure this out." The next morning, Linda finally left. But things didn't magically improve. It felt like Linda never really left. Her words lingered in Rob's vocabulary. Structure. Respect. Boundaries. He started mimicking her tone, and I felt like I was living with a bootleg version of his mother. Then one night he dropped a bombshell I'll never forget. "You have to admit, Ella Johnson's getting challenging. Teenage years, I know, but you let her do anything. Sometimes I wonder if you're her mom or just her friend." That hit like a slap. "I'm a mom," I said quietly. "A mom who lost her husband, and I'm just trying not to lose my daughter, too." He didn't respond, just walked off to the shower as if I hadn't spoken. The next day, it all snapped. Dinner. Just the three of us. Ella Johnson piled chicken and ketchup on her plate. Rob wrinkled his nose. "You're really going to eat that? Do you even care what you put in your body?" Calm as ever, Ella Johnson shot back. "I run more in the morning than you walk all week. Ketchup isn't poison." I was about to step in to ease the tension when he snapped, "Don't talk back. When adults speak, you listen. Don't yap at me like some little dog." He actually said that. Yap. Ella Johnson stood up and walked away. No yelling, no slamming, just gone. "That was too much," I said quietly. "It was the truth," he replied. "If you'd set some boundaries, I wouldn't have to." That night, I didn't sleep, just lay there, staring at the ceiling, wondering how we ended up here. The man who used to memorize how I took my tea and bring me gummy bears after long shifts was now lecturing me on parenting, like I was a failing student. And I was officially failing, according to him, according to Linda, according to everyone except the only person that mattered, Ella Johnson. A couple of days later, he brought up school again. We were sitting on the deck. He scrolled through his phone, then set it down with a sigh. The kind of sigh that comes right before something awful. I closed my eyes, and suddenly I was back in the kitchen of our old home. The smell of fresh-baked cookies wafted through the air, laughter echoing between us. The sun filtered through the window, illuminating our joyful faces. Flour dusted the table where Ella Johnson, young and innocent, giggled as we baked together, blissfully unaware of the grief that would soon shadow our lives. In that moment, I longed for the simplicity of that happiness, the innocence of a life unchallenged by loss. Why did everything change? I whispered to myself, the taste of bittersweet memories lingering in my throat. But life doesn't pause for nostalgia. It pushes forward, demanding we face our realities. And I had to find a way to navigate this storm, for Ella Johnson's sake and my own. The kitchen was dim, shadows dancing on the walls as Claire Thompson stood there, the scent of burnt toast swirling around her like a heavy fog. Memories of laughter and warmth clashed with the stark reality of her life now. Tension crackled in the air, thick enough to cut. Ella Johnson, her daughter, was in the other room, a storm brewing behind her stubborn facade. Just as Claire prepared to defend her choices, Ella Johnson's voice sliced through the silence, trembling with emotion. "Mom, you don't even know." In her hands, Ella Johnson clutched a journal, pages filled with raw emotions and unspoken fears. The revelation shifted everything. Claire realized that Ella Johnson's stubbornness was a shield, not a weapon. The weight of their shared grief felt lighter as understanding began to bridge the gap between them. "I'm trying to be strong for you," Claire whispered, her voice barely above a breath. "Strong? Or just scared?" Ella Johnson shot back, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. Claire's heart ached. She had been so focused on providing a stable life for Ella Johnson that she had overlooked the emotional turmoil swirling within her daughter. "Every time we talk, it's like I'm talking to a wall," Ella Johnson continued, frustration spilling over. "You don't see me. You only see what you want to fix." Claire felt the sting of those words. She had been so consumed by her own grief and the pressures of single motherhood that she had forgotten to truly listen. "Let's talk," Claire said, her voice steady. "Really talk." As they sat together, the rain began to patter against the window, a soothing rhythm that filled the room. The scent of wet earth wafted in, grounding them both. "I miss him too," Claire admitted, her voice trembling. "But we can't let this loss tear us apart." Ella Johnson's defenses began to crumble, and for the first time, Claire saw the little girl beneath the stubborn exterior. "I just want to feel normal again," Ella Johnson confessed, her voice barely a whisper. "Me too," Claire replied, reaching out to take Ella Johnson's hand. In that moment, they both understood. Grief was a journey they would navigate together, not apart. And as the rain continued to fall, they found solace in each other, ready to face the storm ahead. You know what real weakness is? Hiding behind someone else's opinions and calling it concern. Rob stood there, arms crossed, but I wasn't backing down. "If you can't see what I'm saying, maybe you're not ready for a new family." "No, Rob, you're not ready to be part of mine. My daughter isn't a burden. She's not a mistake. She's my family." "Are you choosing her?" he asked, disbelief etched on his face. "Of course I am. And the fact that you even asked that tells me everything I need to know." He didn't argue, just nodded, cold and quiet. Then he walked inside, packed a bag, and 30 minutes later, he was gone. I walked down the hall to Ella Johnson's room. She was sitting on the floor, hoodie pulled tight, headphones in, lost in a book. I sat down next to her, pulled her close. "He's gone," I said softly. "For good." "Yeah," she nodded. And for the first time in weeks, she leaned into me. No walls, no silence, just warmth. "Thanks, Mom," she whispered. And in that moment, I could finally breathe again. The first couple of days passed in a blur. I washed dishes, stared out the window, and Ella Johnson would sit next to me, letting me run my fingers through her hair. We didn't talk much, but we were quiet together, at peace. Then it started. Rob showed up, no call, just appeared with flowers and that classic, "I finally get it" look on his face. "Can I come in?" No. Claire Thompson, I miss you. I was under pressure. My mom was in my ear. Everything was a mess. I know I crossed the line, but I want to fix things. Fix things? You wanted to send my daughter to boarding school because your mommy didn't like her. Then you tried to talk me out of my own decision like I was too dumb to mean it. You didn't just cross the line, Rob. You showed me exactly who you are. He shifted on his feet, uncomfortable. I'm not a monster. I just wanted us to get along. No, you wanted us to fall in line. That's not the same thing. He left. No drama, no yelling. But his face said it all. You'll regret this. The next day, Linda called. You're throwing away a future, Claire Thompson. But what future? One where I compromise my daughter's happiness? No, I was done. Ella Johnson and I would face this storm together, and I would protect her at all costs. Claire Thompson. Thompson sat on the edge of Ella's freshly made bed, memories washing over her like the soft afternoon light filtering through the curtains. The faint scent of lavender lingered from last night's bath, a nostalgic reminder of simpler days. She recalled Ella's laughter echoing in the halls, a melody now turned to silence. Each giggle felt like a ghost in the room, mingling with the weight of unspoken words. It was almost as if Rob's presence wrapped around her, a warmth that turned cold with the unbearable reminder of his absence. Outside, the world blurred. Inside, the silence screamed, "Remember." Not long ago, her thoughts spiraled back to a phone call with Linda. "You're throwing away a future, Claire Thompson," Linda snapped. But what future? One where she would compromise her daughter's happiness? No way. Claire Thompson was done. She and Ella would weather this storm together, and she would protect her at all costs. Days later, closure arrived from Rob. A letter. Polite, detached. Please return the restaurant deposit and the Tiffany bracelet. It was a symbol of our family. Claire Thompson snorted. A symbol? Not of love, but of his need for control. She packed up the bracelet, the earrings, and that ridiculous sign book, "Forever yours, Rob," and shipped them back. No note, just the restaurant money wired back to him. That was for her, to close the chapter, to reclaim her story. But then, the IRS threw a grenade into her quiet life. A letter asked for verification. Who was Ella Johnson's legal guardian? Claire Thompson froze. Rob had claimed Ella as a dependent on his tax return, saving a few bucks without even telling them. The rage boiled inside her, hot and furious. He wasn't just greedy. This was fraud. Her heart raced with the injustice. Learned later, Rob had been fired. The IRS flagged his company during the review. In the world of law, where trust is everything, one slip ruined it all. Claire Thompson knew he'd moved back in with Linda, now branded a loser. Not successful Rob, but that guy who tried to cheat his way through fatherhood. One evening, as they sat in the warmth of their home, Ella turned to her, eyes filled with concern. "Is he okay?" Claire Thompson paused, measuring her words. "No, sweetheart. He made some choices that hurt a lot of people." As she tucked her daughter in, Claire Thompson felt a bittersweet resolve. Life would never be perfect, but together they could face anything and find their way through the storm. I said, "I don't know and I don't care." That day, we were flipping pancakes. Half the batch burned. We added too much salt. But there we were, sitting on the kitchen floor, laughter echoing off the walls until our sides hurt. We've got a home, small but warm. We've got each other. I chose my daughter. I chose myself, and I don't regret a single second. As for Rob's perfect world, it didn't crumble because of me. It was rotting from the inside all along. I know I made the right choice for me and for Ella. But maybe you see it differently. What would you have done in my place? If this story resonates with you, I'd love to hear your thoughts.